Hello, Steve here. Thank you for joining me again at Big Bore Guns. Today we're going to do a training video. Now this video is aimed at people that may be considering shooting a big bore handgun, or potentially they've had a bad experience in the past. They want to improve that experience and learn how to shoot them properly. And you may be someone like me. In the past, when I started considering shooting these big bore handguns, well, I went on YouTube and started watching some videos.
Oh,
What happened?
why did you do that?
And unfortunately, there's a lot of irresponsible people that take these big bore handguns, put them in the hands of somebody that's inexperienced just to get a good laugh, just to see what the outcome is, just to record some interesting video to get a lot of video views, not considering how it's going to impact that person. It's really a sad situation, and that's one of the primary reasons people have very negative opinions of big bore guns and their capabilities. My personal experience after watching some of these videos, well, I was very apprehensive about these handguns. But when I went out and began shooting them, I found there's nothing to be afraid of if you do it the proper way. During this video, I'm going to show you the 3 things that made shooting big bore guns much more pleasurable and hopefully helped improve your situation as well. So these tips are just based on my personal experience. You can watch other videos. A lot of people have a lot more knowledge about these. These are just the things that help me. Let's get started now with looking at the 3 things I think could really help you if you're considering shooting big bore guns and there's some apprehensive about doing so. So maybe you're thinking about shooting a very large big bore handgun. Some of my favorites are the 460 Magnum. These guns I'm going to show you are all unloaded. Or maybe you want to jump into the largest production handgun as far as caliber goes. Something like this, the Smith & Wesson 500 Magnum. Or for many years, this was the largest production handgun. This is a 44 Magnum. You can get this in a lot of different varieties, brands, weights, and it can have quite a bit of kick. Hopefully after you see this video, you'll see that shooting big bore handguns can be very pleasurable, a great experience, and a super adrenaline rush. For the first tip, this is the lazy man's exercise to shooting big bore handguns. I mean it. This is super simple, something you can do around the house, something you can do in your spare time and not even think about it. Let me show you what it is. If you do this for a short while, you're going to find shooting these big bore guns is much, much easier. This first tip is for a simple hand exercise. What I use is one of these. Now there's a lot of different types of these and they'll all do the same thing. Basically, it's a way to exercise your hands and build strength in them. Now this one I like because it does have an adjustment here. I'll put it down in a link in the description if you're interested in this particular model. There are the ones with the little spring in the middle. Works really well too. I've used both and I've really been happy with them. The only advantage of this one is you can actually increase the force here, which is kind of nice. So what I do when I'm sitting around watching some TV, I just do some hand exercises. Take this in both hands. And not only do I pull it back and forth, I also hold on to it. So I'll pull it tight. I'll just leave my hands on it. Another trick is to take off your trigger finger, which you're left or right-handed. For me, I'm right-handed. Take it off and use your other fingers. That way you're learning to hold the grip tighter without it affecting your trigger finger as much. Again, squeeze it, hold it down, get a good firm grip. It's amazing at the difference you're going to see shooting these big bore guns if you'll just take some time every day, every other day, once in a while, just doing these simple exercises. I haven't taken turn it upside down and do it like this too. Seems to affect different parts of the hand that way. You'll see over time you can actually increase this resistance and that will also help you with your shooting. So again, something simple like that, and I don't think these cost very much when I bought them. I don't really remember the price, but they're pretty affordable, easy to use, something you can do. I'm telling you, it made a big, big difference on me shooting big bore guns because it made it much, much easier. I found after using these, I was able to grip the gun more firmly, hang onto that gun, and the outcome was much better. So that's the first thing. Exercising your hands and your wrist. Also, if you have some weights and can do some curls, that's a help. Strengthens your wrist. Other arm exercises also help because all that energy is going to be delivered back to your hands or wrist, arms. So doing some of those exercises is going to be very, very helpful. So the second thing you should think about doing is warming up before you actually shoot one of these big bore guns. The way I do that is using a lesser caliber. So, for instance, this is one of the guns I typically take with me when I go to the range. This is Smith & Wesson Shield Plus 9mm. It's a pretty light gun, so it has significant recoil for a 9mm. It's much less than you'll see in one of these big bore guns, but it actually helps you loosen up your wrist and get you prepared to shoot in one of these larger calibers. For me, that's a key point of shooting one of them. Warm up first. Don't jump into a 500, a 460, a 44 Magnum. Start out with something much lighter, get your wrist loosened up, and get prepared to shoot one of those larger calibers. That's a game changer. It makes it much, much easier. You'll find the experience much better if you'll take some time shooting something with just a little bit of recoil, getting used to that before jumping up into a higher caliber. If you don't have a gun like this and you have something like, let's say you're going to shoot a 44 Magnum, take a bullet that has less recoil. You can go with a 44 Special, which is much less recoil, but it'll help you give you a feel for what the gun's going to be like. Even though when you put a 44, it's going to kick a lot more. It gets you warmed up for that high performing round. So something like a 44 Special works really well. So if you have something like the 460 Magnum, you have the benefit of being able to shoot different cartridges. So I will take a lower performing round like a 45 Long Colt or a 454 Casull, shoot that in the gun first, loosen up my wrist, and get used to shooting those before I stick in a high potent 460 round. And if you're shooting something like a Smith & Wesson 500 Magnum, there's not a lot of other types of bullets you can shoot in here, but there are some alternative brands, such as Armscore, that are much lower performing, but actually have much less recoil. A great way to loosen up your wrist and get used to shooting this gun before you jump up to a full performing 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum round. And the last thing, let's discuss just a couple quick safety items when you're shooting these big bore revolvers. Now, unlike a semi-automatic where you're not really worried about a cylinder and a forcing cone here, with a revolver it's a big concern because when this gun goes off, there's a lot of energy coming out the sides here, and that can actually sever one of your fingers, cut up your hand really bad. It's something you need to make sure you're far away from. So always make sure your grip is back here. A semi-automatic where you might have your finger like this, not a good idea with a revolver unless you want to lose the end of your finger. So keep your fingers back, make sure that index finger is back here on the grip, not going forward anywhere. The second thing you'll want to do, besides watching out how you grip it and keep it away from this forcing cone, is to make sure you only load one round. One round, not two, not three. One of the biggest problems happens when somebody shoots one of these for the first time. Their grip's not right, and when the gun goes off, the muzzle rises, the finger goes down, the second round is fired. It can even flip all the way around back like this in their hand if they don't have a firm grip. If you don't have two bullets in there, that second one can't go off. So just make sure you only load a single round until you're very comfortable with shooting a cylinder full of bullets. It's a huge safety issue for a first-time shooter to have more than one round in the cylinder. So make sure that's what you do. Never put more than one round in there until you know you're fully capable of shooting multiple rounds. You're comfortable with handling one of these big bore guns. That's all for now. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope it was helpful to you. If you'd like or subscribe, that would help out my channel a whole lot if you'd take the time to do that. If you have any questions, also enter them down below. I'll be sure to get back to you. Thank you again for joining me at Big Bore Guns.